Thank you for joining me today on Good News with Twanda Black, where we're discovering some of the most inspiring truths. Hello and welcome to Good News. I'm Twanda Black, your host. I have wonderful guests from all over the world, all walks of life. Today, we're back in the music industry. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this wonderful guest.
Hello there.
Hi, I want you to meet Vinny Adams. He's a part of the group NINEVEH ROAD. And there are five of you, Vinny?
There are four.
Four.
Myself.
And you're the one that made it today, right?
I am. The four members are myself, my brother John, our bass player Leif Lewis, and lead singer Vincent Parker.
All right. So I know that somebody's from Atlanta. So who's from Atlanta?
So nobody's from Atlanta. However, my brother lives in Marietta at this time. So he would be the one that would qualify.
Nice. Okay. You know, that's Atlanta to us. That's Atlanta to us. Okay. Atlanta, you know, Atlanta proper, and then everything around, like everywhere else.
Well, you know, I don't know.
I know that NINEVEH ROAD is a soul rock group, and I'll tell you, when I listened before I read the bio, I said, "Okay, is this Hootie and the Blowfish?" Sounds just, you know, that lead vocal and the whole sound of the band because I'm a Hootie fan, so I really thought, I said, "Is that Hootie and the Blowfish? That's amazing!" So you're a soul rock band. Tell us about how you guys got together.
It's funny you say Hootie. That, you know, we get that a lot, and we like that because, you know, Hootie is one of our favorite groups. In addition to, you know, a number of others, you know, the ones that we feel like would probably come out the most in the music would be like Hootie, Earth, Wind and Fire, Seal. You know, those are a lot of some of the influences that peek through in the music. We've been together since 1999, and the very first version of the group had a slightly different lineup. We had a keyboard player, her name was Sheila Johnson, and then eventually she transitioned on, and then we got the lead singer we have now. Prior to that, you know, John and I had been in a number of different iterations, family band, since we were very young, since we were kids. And that band went on for many, many years, you know, into the 80s. And then, you know, eventually folks, you know, went different directions. So NINEVEH ROAD came about as a result of just all of those experiences and, you know, having tried many different ways to, you know, make a mark, you know, in the business and weather all the changes of the business as well. And, you know, John and Leif got together one day and through their discussion, we're talking about, you know, just this concept of, you know, how Jonah ran away, and then hence the name, you know, Jonah, you know, ran away from what he was called to. And somehow in some ways they reflected on having tried it many other different ways to go out musically, and yet this was the way that we had not given full attention or full effort, you know, to do a music that would really honor God in that way, you know, because there's many other ways you can do music, but this is something that just would come out naturally in the music that we would play. And so, you know, they decided, okay, hey, let's give it a go in this way.
You know, and I want you to speak to the independent artists out there, because you guys are independent as well. And when you started, you were independent. And, you know, if you weren't in a certain category, if you weren't in this little niche over here or in a space where they expected you to be, really, they didn't have a space for you. So what
Right.
do you say to independent artists who are unique in what they bring?
Well, ultimately, you got to know your brand. You got to know your thing, and then be willing to sell it. I many years ago, a really good friend of mine who was a minister, he was preaching a sermon, and I always use this quote when I think about it because it really tells the story. He said, "Conviction is something you're willing to live by, and deep conviction is what you're willing to teach." And so, as an independent artist, you got to be confident enough in what you do to not just be willing to just do it, but to think that other people should get on board as well. And if you got that kind of confidence in it, then that's like the starting place. Because if you don't believe in it, nobody else will. If you don't believe you've got something worthwhile, it's going to show in how you present it. So, I think that's really the starting place, is when you have something, knowing enough to strike out and do it, feeling like, and being wise as well, and mindful of the landscape, know the industry, know the artists that are out there, know what is being done, and know where you either fit or don't fit, and then know where there's a place where you have something to offer that's not being offered, because it is a business. And you do want to market yourself according to what the need is, or what the demand is for. And if there is a demand for music, and and we strike a demographic that, a lot of market research that we've done, we've been seeing that we're striking a demographic of people that still buy records, because there's a whole generation behind us that they don't buy records. They buy, right. They download the MP3s and all those types of things. And so they're not necessarily as interested in a long-term relationship with an artist. And we come from a background where we are into building long-term with our audience, and having them grow with us with what we do. And so, that's largely how we seek to approach it, is not to just, flash in the pan, jump in and jump out, but really take everybody with us on a journey through the stories that we tell in the music.
And you're exactly right. You think about, how we grew up in music and how we followed our old groups. I would buy an Earth, Wind & Fire record right now today. Exactly. Same thing. We grew up with them,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely understand that. And so now that everything's digital and the whole landscape of this record industry has changed, how did you guys kind of evolve into it? And I know it was a good thing for you.
And it has been difficult, because when our first album came out, and this was in the early 2000s, the way you marketed a record was very different. And just in a 10-year period, the way you marketed a record completely, like, the industry was galvanized in terms of it. So, back then you were still trying to hustle it, get your promo CDs, and, get people to listen, and you hit this club here or that, venue there, and you got to have a lot of deep pockets for marketing. So those are things that, one of the things that brought the band to a halt, in addition to a number of personal challenges that came up, family tragedies and all kinds of things, our current album is called The Return Of, purposely because of what we are coming from, having done this first project and then endured through all of this major change around us, not only personally, but professionally, deciding that we still had something to say, that we still had something to offer, and doing it in a way that the industry understands. Now, we can't do things the way that it used to be done, because nobody's listening in that way anymore. So it was deciding to return from a time where, things were different, and still offering the quality that so that, you get the best of both worlds. You get, the idea that, yeah, we still want you to grow with us, but we're going to try to do it a little bit differently. And that gave birth to us pursuing the relationship with Sony Orchard for distribution, because they're the largest digital distributor in the world. And when the opportunity came, we thought, hey, this would be really great. This is a company that understands bands. They understand, they have some of the best, they understand big music. And the only challenge that would be left is to get it in the hands of the people. And Absolutely. So that was our goal, by striking out with Sony. That was our number one goal, is that more than anything else, what the most important thing is that there is a message here that people need to hear, and who better than one of the largest.
So talk about your writing process. When you talk about your writing from life, from all the different aspects of life and what happens in life, talk about your writing process.
So like some of the songs on this were initiated through a myriad of different life circumstances. Like the single that's out now, it first came about when my brother, he was doing a residency over in the Middle East, some performing over there in Dubai, Qatar, and every day in that community is primarily a Muslim community. And every day there would be a call to prayer that was public. It was the whole city was, bowing in that way. And coming from a Christian perspective, it was really compelling that even though you have maybe a different direction religiously that you're following, nobody ignores a call to prayer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was a way of like the whole world coming together, even though, you're not going to the mosque, you're still being called to prayer. And, so that really impacted him in the way that the song came about. It made him reflect on all of those challenges, and what do you do with all of those challenges? You bring them to the cross, you bring them at the foot of the cross, and you take all of that, and that's the message that begins in the song. With all the bad and the good times that come, you pray, and it's a very simple idea that everybody can understand, and that's what we wanted. We didn't, even though we come from a Christian background, we didn't want people to be excluded by any particular denominational focus in the music. We wanted them to get the core of what God would be looking for. He wants everyone to bow. And however they get there, we need to get everybody to focus on God. And, if they pray, they'll find their way, so those are some of the things that we think about, that's a part of our lives. Along with that is just life situations. Most of us are married. We have all kinds of stories we can tell about, relational things that happen, but everybody in the world is going through the same things. The question is, what tools do you use to tackle those same problems? That's what sets apart people who follow God versus people who don't know or don't know how. And that's really all there is the difference is that you're going to have all the same issues that everybody else has. We're just saying, hey, this is how we deal with it, and successfully,
So was it you where your career took you to Broadway?
Yes. So I had never auditioned for anything in life up until that point, like in the Broadway scene, the theater scene. I was always on the music side of things, and I was doing something for my church that required me to kind of choreograph this gumboot dance. And we were doing an AIDS benefit, and it sold out. It was super successful. And afterwards, one of the sisters in church came up to me and she's like, well, it seems like you're really good at this. Maybe you might want to try this thing. And it was like this little tiny article, just as like the size of my fingers here, from backstage auditioning for Stomp. And I was like, oh, all right, sure. Why not? 4 callbacks in, next thing you know, I'm on Broadway. Then I'm, on Rosie O'Donnell, and then I'm planning Hollywood, and the things just spiraled. It was a complete change of trajectory from that point forward, just because of being in that show. And so that was a lot of fun.
Wow, wow, wow. So tell our audience, where to find you, to learn more about you, how to find your music. You are going to love it, by the way. And I Pray is the single that we're playing right now. And then you've already gone into volume 2 and volume 3, or you're working on those?
So we have in our arsenal at least 2 other volumes of music. We thought of this as, one of the big changes in the industry is how people even view a long form of music. And so even major artists are now coming out with EPs, because previously the public was being force-fed, every song on the album. And you might have 5 strong cuts, and then they got some fluff in between because, the label says, well, you got to give us this, So now with people having, in the independent mindset, they have so much more control over what you give people. So you give them your best every time, and you don't have to waste more time. So that saves you so much time in production and so on and so forth. So, we are developing at least 2 more EPs worth of material. And in this current one, we have it up. We are offering it for people that want to find us. They can find us on Instagram at Nineveh Road 2020. You can find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page that says Nineveh Road. We're just about to unleash our website. And for those that log on and become members on the website, we will give access to the single for free, as well as a preview of the coming EP, which is almost complete. So those are things that, but you can also get to the website at NINEVEHRoad.com, and you can take a peek at, some of our bios, some of our backgrounds, some more in-depth things about each member of the group. And we'll get to be able to get your email and be able to tell you about more stuff as these things are happening going forward. Also, the YouTube channel as well. You can also catch the video there. We have a bunch of videos that are coming, representing some of the singles on the album.
That's Nineveh Road as well?
Yes.
All right. We are just so excited about where this soul rock band is going. You're going to love the music, y'all. So make sure that you tune in, you purchase, you buy, you download, you do all those good things, and follow this great group. This is Vinnie Adams of Nineveh Road. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me. We really appreciate it.
Hey, that was Vinnie Adams of Nineveh Road, and thanks so much for joining me today on Good News with Twanda Black. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you know someone who would be a great guest for me, please reach out at Twanda Black at thepgnetwork.org. That's Twanda Black at thepgnetwork.org. Hey, I'll see you next time. God bless you.